Hi everybody, welcome to the South Australian Sport Show. Hope you can stay with us for the next hour as we try and get across lots of South Australian sport. As always, my co-host Rob Popplestone joins me. Poppy, how are you?
Look, I'm going okay, but just okay. You know, last week was a tough week to get through. There was so much on the end of that game between the Crows and the West Coast Eagles, and it all came crumbling down. I know we're going to talk about it more, but I still haven't got over it. I mean, it was there. A home final was there, right there. I could grab it. Has been taken away.
Just disappeared. All right, look, Craig Warman's going to join us from the Southern Footy League. Of course, semi-finals coming up this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Alex Hayden, young squash player from South Australia, just back from the squash championship, World Squash Championships in Poland. Be good to catch up with her. Luke Powell
from the Eagles.
Woodville Western, of course, finals starting. They've got to wait for South.
And what about this man? What about this man?
John Swan. Swanee. One of the legends of the music industry is going to join us also. So stay with us, Poppy. Plenty to come on the show in the next hour. Hope you can stay with us. Plenty to talk about on the show. As I said earlier, Luke Powell, 232 games, if you don't mind, with Woodville Western, former captain, being good enough to give some of his time. Luke, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Well, mate, you go from a leadership mentoring program to footy manager to general manager. What's next?
King of the world!
Hopefully not much more. I'm under the pump already as it is, so I think we'll stick with that for a little while and see how we go.
All right, it's been a pretty good year. Finished on top of the ladder, only had 4 losses. I mean, disappointing loss on the weekend and all, but you like to get that out of the way now. What do you take away from a loss on a weekend going into finals?
Look, it's probably, we didn't play well to start with. That's probably the biggest thing that the coaching staff will take out of it, but the boys probably... Did they, hold off a little bit, knowing what's on the end in the next couple of or the next month, the finals? But look, it's probably, we look at it as though it gives us a bit of a kick up the bum to have a look at our structures. It might have been, we thought they're going all right, but obviously they're not. So it's it's a wake-up call, if anything.
You know, the last couple of decades, I guess, in the SANFL, we had Port Adelaide who had that dynasty. We had Central Districts that had that dynasty. But I reckon Mickey Godden's got a template in place, Powley, at the moment where you've been well placed for a while, but you're definitely in a good spot.
We are, yeah. I mean, it's all through our, you only have to look through our junior program at the moment. The under-18s are doing quite well. Our reserves are going for, I think, their 4th premiership in a row. So the nucleus and the core group of players is there. Now it's just a matter about topping up, and obviously what Centrals did for so long is they had such a good side. They'd obviously only lose 2 or 3 at a time, but they'd always inject those 2 or 3 to maintain that sort of level.
What has it been? What has it been, Mickey? Has it been a club ethos? Has it been good fortune with talented players, or is it a mixture of all of those things?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of everything. I mean, obviously we pull from a pretty good zone, which is good, and lucky enough to obviously we've gained Port's zone now from when they rezoned, and I think Mick's, he's an exceptional coach and he's a great developer of men, really. So he's, I've been lucky enough to experience that when I was playing under him. But I think the club too, the club's philosophy is always to bring good people into a footy club. It doesn't matter how talented you are, as long as you're a good person, well then we can work from there.
Look, you touched on it briefly a couple of questions back on whether the guys were thinking about next week and the next games as opposed to on the weekend. Now you've been in that position. From experience, did you think that way?
Look, it does happen. I think when I played, I think we finished on top 2 or 3 times, and you still want to win, and you still. But there's times in contests that you look at, do you go as hard as you wanted to, and it's hard. But I mean, as a leadership group, the boys should have been pushing harder to. You always want to win, no matter when you go out there. And we probably lost We lost 2 boys from injury the week before, so there's probably. In their minds, they're thinking, well, I don't want that to be me leading into the final.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Yeah. It really is, because, like you say, you want to win, no question, but you don't want to get injured and miss a chance to play in the finals because they're rare.
No, that's right. Yeah.
But you know what? I reckon there's a little bit of Adelaide Crows loss in that as well. I think we all expected them just to roll up. There's no knick-knack there. We just roll up. We've got a top 2 spot. We don't lose many at home. Let's just roll through the game. But you can't go into any contest at that level giving an opportunity, because once the opposition get their foot in the door, she's pretty hard to slam it shut again.
You do, and that's exactly right. You can't take away from Norwood that they actually played quite well. We come up against a good opposition and probably didn't think they'd be where they are in the season, and it was a good lesson for our boys.
Yeah. Well, mate, Sturt South played this weekend. South had a big win over Adelaide. Sturt drew with Glenelg. Yeah. You played the winner. Is there? It's nearly a stupid question because you can't answer it to say is there a preference, but is there one team that you would prefer to meet, style of game that suits the way you play, as a better chance to beat them?
Yeah, look, South match up really well against us, and they're probably at the moment they're probably the form team in the competition. So we don't really mind who we play. Sturt have obviously had a bad run of injuries of late, and I think they'll probably get injected with a few of their top line players. But in terms of who we play, I mean, we'll be prepared for whichever club we come up against. They're both quality teams, and they've both been really well coached this year. And it's a matter of probably just our boys being ready for it.
You've been across a fair journey, 232 games, and often the saying is, every year's a better year, but that's not always the case. This year looks like it's been a really good year.
It has. It's been fantastic. Probably the biggest thing for the boys would overcome was a grand final loss. Now, I've had to go through that experience as well, and it's a real test of your character, and I think not just the players, but the way the club's handled it, the resilience in the footy club it's been fantastic, and that's probably we've seen more growth in probably our younger players and more development in our sort of mid-tier players. In terms of a year, I think it's worked well so far, but until that month, the next month's over, we're not going to know how well it's been.
You know what? There was a message coming through loud and clear in the footy fraternity, and that was the Eagles were back in the zone. They were back in the groove. From the day after that grand final, the message was we're on our way now. Yeah. And I reckon that there's been some momentum swings in sides during the course of this season. Sturt for a while, South for a while have been good, but the Eagles have just got to where they need to go. And to tell you the truth, I'm expecting them actually to lift to another level. If you think they've been good during the year, I reckon they're going to be better in the next 4 weeks. So you want to bring your A game. I really do. They've got a good list.
Is it a redemption? Is it redemption you're seeking? Is it? Do you reflect back on that grand final loss? Does that get mentioned now, or is it? It's in the past. Leave it alone. Let's stay focused on where we're at.
Yeah, I think you've got to be careful whether you play your whole season for redemption, because you can actually get lost on what you're actually trying to achieve. And I mean, West Adelaide, who we played, aren't featuring in the final series this year. So it's more about where the boys want to go this year. They understand that last year they lost the grand final and they'll learn from their mistakes, but the year is all about 2016 and what they can achieve there.
All right, let's assume 2016 goes as we're hoping for you, that grand final's a win. We saw it with Westies last year, win the grand final, bottom this year. AFL clubs come in and grab a big core of your good players. Is there a danger of a lot of players getting drafted and missing next year? I know you've got a good top-up coming, but it's hard to lose them and replace them.
It is. I think we'll lose. We'll potentially lose 4 or 5 that have mainly come through our under-18s, but which would be our next group of kids coming through. But we won't lose too many. We may lose a couple through retirements. Luke Jarrod's obviously already announced his retirement, and if results go our way, we think we might lose a couple of others as well. But I think we're well prepared for the fact that if we do lose players, that we'll be able to inject a few more. And obviously, with what we're coming through the juniors, we're pretty excited with what's coming through.
In your role now, Powell, have you started looking at what's available for 2017? Does that start now, or can you afford to take your eyes off 2016? Is it a bit of both again?
That's probably started mid-year. Mid-year we've sort of identified the potential of what we will lose, who we're going to part ways with, and who's going to retire. So you have to always be on the lookout. I mean, we've done a few trips around the country to find out what's available, obviously, and also inside of SA.
So just quickly, some names and clubs.
I can't divulge in that, but
it's exciting, I guess, to do that, to pinpoint talent, and the club has been remarkably successful in doing that.
We have, we've always had a good balance with the guys we bring in. I mean, I was obviously one of them coming over from Victoria as well, but and I think that's a strength of your club, that you're able to bring 2 or 3 guys in that are going to help your footy club. And for the playing group, it's exciting as well. That the injection of 2 or 3 new players in their footy club, the boys embrace it, and makes it a good culture in there.
Yeah.
Okay, you look at North Melbourne, who've let Harvey and Petrie go. We'll just pick those two for right now. Is there ever an opportunity for your club to be able to pick up a player that says, well, I didn't want to retire, I've been retired, I'm probably not going to get a AFL gig, but I'd like to play on? Just the wealth of that knowledge, or do we spend more time targeting the younger guys now?
It probably depends on our needs, I think. Like if we lost a couple of key defenders or a key forward, and we thought that we have, a young kid that's come through that's probably in that that 22 to 23 range that's not quite there, that you could actually go, well, maybe we can target someone for a year
just
or two.
For a year.
Yeah, and that experience, obviously, I don't think would be any chance to get those
the
guys.
The budget might not allow that.
That's right. But to have that wealth of experience, you can't put a value on that. So, there's a couple of guys in SA that are probably going to finish up retiring the AFL teams that would definitely, if the interest was there from their end, that would have a look at them. So.
It's great news, Jay Schultz, to join the Eagles, which is fantastic. I mean, that's
just floating that one out.
Floating that one out there.
Well, you had a role before where you're mentoring and you're working with the players, and you touched on players thinking about retirement, and you've been there. It's a tricky road to travel. Have any of the players approached you and just tried to seek some advice on you when you thought it was time?
I've had a couple this year. So, and my advice to them is that you'll always know. I mean, I think sometimes for me, when I started to think about it, I knew that was time. I mean, you want to play forever, and sometimes I see the boys run out there, and I still think I can get out there, but then I watch them train and realise.
Yeah. How old were you when you retired?
I was 33.
And you knew?
I
knew. I was 24. I couldn't get a kick. I knew it was time.
You should have gone earlier. Speaking of time to go, we need to go to a break. Luke, thanks for coming. Good luck in the finals
Thanks
for the Eagles. We'll take a break. Stay with us. Still plenty to come on the show.